we're going to use a lot of cliches because that's just what taxes are. You know, taxes are unavoidable. Death and taxes are the two things in life that are guaranteed. When you look at it, though, there's ways that you can structure your portfolio just to help make it more efficient.
Right.
So not avoid taxes, maybe, because again, you never really want to avoid taxes because that means you didn't make money. Taxes are a first world problem, however you want to phrase it. If you're paying taxes, you made money.
Right.
Good for you. Just kind of maybe be efficient with it is
And
how we're talking about it.
It's also a mental accounting game, right? And I'll use two examples. So like most people who have a W-2 income, they get a paycheck, the taxes come out of it before it ever hits their bank account. So from a mental accounting perspective, they get what they get. The exact opposite is true with a portfolio, because you look at it, you're like, I've got $1 million in my portfolio. No, you don't. Okay. Because the government owns some portion of that the gains in the portfolio. So like it's a mental accounting game because you see it in there and think it's yours, but it's not in the investment accounts.
Yep.
But like with your paycheck, you're like, oh, the money's already coming out. You don't feel it. You don't think about it because what ends up in your checking account ends up in your checking account. So that's what I think makes it so difficult to talk about taxes from an investing in a portfolio perspective, is people have that, I've got $1 million or whatever they've got.
Yeah.
And you don't.
Well, and it creates a lot of bad decisions, honestly, around that because of that bias that you have on there.
Right.
And so, again, by taking some of the steps that we're just going to talk about here, you can really make it easier on your brain and your portfolio.
Right.
You'll save money, you'll pay less. So, and I think a good place to start is we're only really going to talk about taxable accounts here. So your Roth IRAs, your IRAs, those have tax implications.
But down the road.
Correct.
Right.
Or you either pay the money, you pay the tax when you put the money in the account, or you pay it when you take it out of the account. But that lets you trade within the account without any tax impacts.
Right.
There you go. That's all the retirement account tax conversation we have to have. When you think about your taxable account, which for a lot of people does become their largest portfolio, especially if you go through a liquidity event, like selling your business. That's usually taxable money that's coming your way. And you have to figure out how you're going to invest it to be efficient with it. So when you think about just taxable accounts, I think the place that I want to start is people always like to think about the income being generated by a portfolio. When you think about the income that's being generated, how can you be efficient with it is always the question I think that we look at. Because a lot of the time, that income that you're generating from your portfolio is taxed if it's like a paycheck, which can be really high rates, especially for high earners.
Right.
So how do you kind of structure your portfolio or think about different investments to include in your taxable portfolio to maybe lessen that burden?
Right.
I think the obvious one is municipal bonds. Ready? Now we talked about taxes. Let's talk about another sexy topic.
Right. Because listen, nothing will set the internet on fire faster than a conversation about municipal bonds.
You ready? I will set the internet on fire.
All right, let's go.
So here's what it is. There are huge benefits from a tax perspective for municipal bonds and taxable accounts.
Yeah.